Welcome to Tapped In. My name is David Figueroa-Martinez of DFM Coaching, and today we're going to be discussing the benefits of having side quests. These are ideas, missions, hobbies, things that take you off the mat. As much as we want to stay on the mat and have dedication and make sure we're attaining our goals and going to class regularly, all that is great. But I genuinely feel like there should be goals and hobbies and things that distract you and take you away from jiu-jitsu, and that's perfectly healthy. I don't necessarily like the idea of people who are only dedicated to that one craft, specifically kids. I used to have parents who would ask, should I put my kid, or is it okay if I put my kid in softball, baseball, basketball, music, art, whatever? I wholeheartedly pushed for it because specifically with kids, your job as a parent is to show them and get them in touch with as many different activities and hobbies as possible so they can then sift through what they actually like and dislike, or what they have a passion for and don't have a passion for. For me, you shouldn't be doing jiu-jitsu as a kid 24/7. You should be doing everything else. Do jiu-jitsu, come to class 2-3 times a week, but you should have other hobbies and you should have other skill building techniques or activities that build other things within you that are not jiu-jitsu related. I would say the same thing about anyone that says, hey, my son is strictly baseball. I don't think it's a good thing. I think you should really have your kids do different arts, different programs, different things. When it comes to adults, I think the same thing will happen for different reasons. By the time you get to adulthood, you kind of know what you're interested in, not interested in. The issue becomes sometimes our focus on jiu-jitsu becomes an obsession, and obsessions are never good, period. There's a difference between being dedicated and obsessed. Dedicated means I find time in spite of the schedule I have. I come in 3 times a week, sometimes 2, sometimes 4. I have a family, I have kids, I have a spouse, I have a job that demands 40, 50 hours a week. I have a parent that requires my attention. I have nieces and nephews that have birthday parties, whatever it might be. So you have to balance those things, and your dedication is in spite of those things. Like you make time and you carve out space for yourself for this hobby. That's dedication to me. An obsession is, this is the only thing I'm thinking about. This is the only thing that I'm focused on. I routinely negate or neglect aspects of my life or family responsibilities for this. That's a wholesale negative. Like it's not healthy. It's not good for you. It's not good for your families. It's not good for your development as a person, because just because you're an adult doesn't mean you stop developing. I think that we have to have understandings of our passions and not allowing them to become obsessions. What I like personally is when a student says, and sometimes they ask this, but I don't think you should ask. I think you should just do it. Hey, I want to get into weightlifting. Hey, I want to, there's this thing that I want to do, and it's going to carve out, it won't allow me to train as much. I never tell a student, don't do that. I think that having those moments are good for you, and having, like, we're not one thing. We're not a Goliath. No, that's not the word. We're not one. Our identity isn't specific to one item or one thing about us. We're going to be readers. We're going to be drawers. We're going to be people who like reading comic books. We're going to be people who like spending time with their spouses, doing whatever. We're going to be multifaceted. And your creativity, for most of us, is going to come out in different ways. Some of us, again, we're writing, we're drawing, we're listening to music, playing music. I have a friend at another gym who's learning how to play the drums. I have friends that write. They are baking, they are podcasting, they're doing other things outside of what we do. And that is perfectly fine. I think it it makes you a brighter person to chase these hobbies outside of the gym. It makes you, in my opinion, more relaxed. It makes you more flowy. You're not so harped in, I have to get better at this specifically. So, in my opinion, I think you take information in better. I think that because you haven't made this your identity, when you lose, when you fail, when you come up short, you're not so wrapped up in the identity that, oh, I suck or I'm bad or I'm terrible at this. It's just a small aspect of you, and you got all these other things that you're also juggling and doing, that it makes you a fuller person. You're not focused so much on the emotional negative aspect of coming up short. It's just another thing that you do, and that balance is massive. I think that additionally, the hobbies help in terms of like having patience with yourself, in terms of problem solving, long term thinking. People who have these other skills often, or other hobbies often, find skills in those hobbies that can translate back and forth. Like someone who's into chess has an idea of strategy that kind of opens up their mind a bit more than other people. Someone who's into dancing might equate that into jiu-jitsu differently when they're passing. I forgot who it was, but she had an episode on BJJ mental models, and she explained how she passes in a dancing format. Like, I had never even considered that, but there is a little bit of a sway to how we move. So all these things kind of help, and they create interlocking skill sets and abilities that you would not get if you were just doing the one art. I also think that if you're doing the one thing, just jiu-jitsu, things you may want to start considering if you feel like all you're doing, you're constantly watching jiu-jitsu content and you feel a little empty. I think it's time to find another hobby, not to replace, but just to enhance. Time away gives you sometimes fresher eyes. You do not need to be immersed in jiu-jitsu all the time. You really don't. It's not beneficial for you. It hurts. It creates almost writer's block. I think like people, like when I want to sit down and I need to write. Sometimes the act of me forcing myself to write, you get that writer's block and you don't know where to take a piece or how to even start a piece. And when I leave and I go pick up a book, or I go watch a movie, or I watch a TV show with the wife, something in that action, sometimes someone says, something someone presents, clicks and makes a connection, and you're like, oh, I can do this and that. Or the famous one is you're in the shower and you get a great shower thought on something you want to work on. That happens when you pick up these other hobbies and you pick up these other streams of attention and feedback and entertainment. It opens up how you are going to attack a specific position. And it's not just jiu-jitsu all the time. And I really want to get people away from that. You should never feel guilty for collecting these hobbies. Some of us are multi-hobbyists, if you want to say that. I write, read, I watch a bunch of movies and shows with the wife. I listen to music. Sometimes I draw. I'm like, there's all these other things that I want to pursue. And I remember there was a time for me when I was a bit more obsessed with jiu-jitsu training. And then it developed into writing and other things. And then there was a point in time when I remember I had an instructor who kind of like, oh, you need to train more. You need to train more. And I had gotten to this point in my life where balance meant so much more to me than the progression that I was going to have. And part of that balance was that I had other hobbies that I wanted to pursue. And I did not want to do just jiu-jitsu. And so I had to make a strong effort on my part to not be pulled into a schedule that was not beneficial for me. So one of the things that I just constantly did was, this is my schedule. I'm not deviating it from it. I'm not going to add more classes to it. This is my schedule for training. These days are my schedule for writing, drawing, fucking off, whatever it might be. And that, again, created distances from the things that I was most responsible for and the things that I was passionate about. And I didn't waver, and I don't think anyone else should either. And all your multiple hobbies and interests are going to make you a happier person. And when you're a happier person, you take information in better. Like I said earlier, you process information better. You apply information better. You're just in a better mood. You're a better person. You're a better everything. So get into these hobbies of yours. If there's anything that you've wanted to do for some reason, and you feel like, oh, jiu-jitsu sucks up so much from my time anyway, take one class away and dedicate that time, if you can, to whatever that other hobby is. That other hobby may be interrelated. It might be lifting weights. It might be going to a yoga class. It might so it's going to benefit hand in hand with what you're training because it's something physical, but it doesn't have to be. It could be anything else. So try hobbies. Try things that are almost in contrast to jiu-jitsu. Make space for things that you want to do and don't even apologize for it. You really should not have to. I understand in settings where you kind of find yourself in those positions, but you shouldn't have to. Push yourself to find these things because, again, and I know I'm repeating myself, it's going to make you a happier person, which makes you a better jiu-jitsu person. On that note, if you have any questions, concerns, issues, you're in a spot where maybe you can use some advice, you can always DM me at dfm.2099 Instagram or Threads. If you'd like to work with me, workshops, private lessons, remote coaching, whatever it might be, dfmcoaching.com. Until next time, thank you so much.